the President and the public in the Rosenberg case. Hello, my name is Mrs. Ann Whitman, Personal Secretary of President Dwight D. Eisenhower. Today is June 19, 1953. One of the first issues that has come up in Eisenhower's presidency regards the presidential pardon power. This power is granted in the U.S. Constitution and allows the president to lighten or remove the sentence of anyone convicted of a federal crime. A president receives many pardon requests while he is in office, but recently the Rosenberg case has captured the attention of the American public. Since the end of World War II, tensions have been rising and there has been much concern about a nuclear war between the U.S. and Soviet Union. Back in 1951, Julius and Ethel Rosenberg were convicted of conspiring to pass atomic secrets to the Soviet Union. The Rosenbergs were sentenced to death, and in fact, their executions are scheduled for 8 p.m. this evening. But there is still one option which could save their lives: a pardon from President Eisenhower. Now, Eisenhower already denied an application for executive clemency from the Rosenbergs this past January, but there have been great efforts to get him to change his mind. Everyone seems to have an opinion on the Rosenberg case, and there are two main viewpoints. Those who believe the president should grant clemency to the Rosenbergs, and those who think he should not. Now, if you were to read the stacks of telegrams we have received from the public on this case, it would seem as if the two viewpoints were as different as possible, but that is not entirely true. They both believe that the president's pardoning power gives him a responsibility to protect American rights. The difference is simply how they interpret the facts of the Rosenberg case and whose rights they believe are in danger. Well, that's enough of that. I do need to be answering the president's mail. Yes, I have a telegram to send today. June 19th, 1953, the President of the White House. Dubious guilt, don't murder Rosenbergs. And that will be all. Thank you. Oh, hello, Mrs. Smith. I almost didn't see you there. I am just so distraught. I have just been sending a telegram to President Eisenhower asking him to have mercy and pardon Julius and Ethel Rosenberg. I have been able to get the true information of the case through the National Guardian, a progressive news weekly, and take a look at this broadside published by the National Committee to Secure Justice in the Rosenberg case. Here are the Rosenbergs' two sons, Robert and Michael, writing to the president and asking him not to let anything happen to their mommy and daddy. As much as the government wants to deny it, the Rosenbergs did not receive a fair trial and were convicted on unreliable evidence. The primary witness against the Rosenbergs was Ethel's brother, David Greenglass, but new evidence uncovered by the National Committee to Secure Justice in the Rosenberg case proves that his testimony was false. Well, what do you think, Mrs. Smith? Justice? The Rosenbergs were sent to the death house on lies. That's not what I call justice. They have been denied their basic American rights, and these poor children are about to lose their parents. That is why I am contacting President Eisenhower. It is his responsibility to use his pardoning power and restore the rights of the Rosenbergs. Well, I don't know what else I can say to convince you. We will know soon how this case will end, and I can only hope that Eisenhower will change his mind. Yes, I have a telegram to send today. June 19th, 1953, the President, the White House. Rosenbergs. They were spying when my only son was killed in line of duty, March 1945. And that will be all. Thank you. Oh, hello, Mrs. Johnson. Well, it is good to run into you. Now, have you been hearing about this Rosenberg case? Well, I have just been sending a telegram to President Eisenhower asking him not to interfere with justice and to let the Rosenbergs die. As I'm sure you know, my only son was killed back in 1945. Now, have you seen his picture? Well, while he was so bravely serving our country, those rotten Rosenbergs were betraying its secrets to the communists. I have been following their case in the New York Times, a very reputable paper, and the truth is quite clear. As much as some people in this country want to deny it, the Rosenbergs received a perfectly fair trial from some of our nation's greatest judicial minds and are, in fact, guilty. Ethel's brother, David Greenglass, claims that the Rosenbergs were spies, and I see no reason to believe his testimony was false. Well, what do you think, Mrs. Johnson? Mercy? Did the Rosenbergs grant mercy to thousands of American boys and their grief-stricken families? I see no reason to grant mercy to them. They have been helping the Soviets get atomic weapons. This could mean an attack on our boys currently fighting in Korea or on Americans back home. It is crucial that we punish the traitors and prevent future spying. That is why I am contacting President Eisenhower. It is his responsibility to protect the rights of American soldiers and civilians. Well, I don't know what else I can say to convince you. We will know soon how this case will end, and I can only hope that Eisenhower will hold firm. Well, it's been over 40 years since we last met. Julius and Ethel Rosenberg were executed in June 1953 as planned. President Eisenhower never granted them any form of clemency, and back when I was his secretary, I learned something of his reasons. Eisenhower believed that the nation must be kept safe from espionage, and that executing the Rosenbergs would deter potential spies. Although Eisenhower obviously was opposed to clemency, he did state in a letter to his friend that not all the arguments were on either side. The Soviet Union fell in 1991, and despite some close calls, they never engaged in nuclear conflict with the United States. The Rosenberg case continues to be debated to this day. The Venona documents have been top secret for years, but in 1995, a sampling was finally made available to the public. 19 of these messages concern the Rosenbergs. While some people claim that they proved their innocence, others argue that they proved their guilt. So, as you can see, nothing has really changed. Although both sides have vastly different ideas about the facts of the case, whose rights are in danger, and what the president should do, there is one thing they all have in common. The American public believes that the president has a responsibility to protect American rights. This, I believe, will hold true through future generations of presidents and citizens. As new cases arise, the basic debate will remain the same: how the president should act on his responsibility to protect rights, and whether or not he should use the power to pardon. Good job.
I looked at some resources and some of your research. How did you first choose this topic?
So last year I did about the atomic bomb, and so I wanted to learn more about how the bomb affected the future. I was also interested in the Cold War era in America, and like how Americans reacted to that. And I landed on the Rosenbergs and the presidential pardon power because I thought it went well with the theme of rights and responsibilities, and I'm also very interested in presidents, and so I thought it would be a good opportunity to explore rights and responsibilities in relation to the U.S. presidency. So it just, I don't know, I just thought it was interesting and it fit well with what I wanted to do.
Yeah, you have, it seems you have a passion for this time period of history. Yeah, it's great.
All right, well, first off, I want to say I really enjoyed your presentation, and thank you for giving that to us. So I'm looking through your process paper. You talk about having ordered some archival material, microfilm. What did you find useful in this material that you looked at?
So this poster and this poster both came from that, and like all the microfilm is stuff like that. Some of it is letters that were sent in relation to the National Committee. A lot of it is like things that they published, like pamphlets and posters and ads, and so it was so much and like almost overwhelming how much there was on there. And it helped me really get a good understanding of all the arguments that they were making, because every facet of their argument had an entire pamphlet about it. Like, it was thorough. They were dedicated to publication, and they were the main group who was sort of championing them, and the National Guardian newspaper were the main group who were championing the clemency cause. And so it helped me understand everything they wanted to say, and a lot of quotes that I put into my pro-clemency scene, like the Rosenberg was sent to the death house on lies. A lot of lines came from things that I found in those publications. I sort of tried to make the wording and the rhetoric sound like what people would have been saying.
I liked the different changing of clothing,
Oh,
the different,
yes.
and it is good. I mean, you see the different perspectives, and yeah, it was great. I commend you for your research efforts. I mean, this is impressive. You went to that. This looks like you went to the Eisenhower Presidential Library.
Yes.
How was that?
That was a lot of fun. I went to the Truman Library last year, and that's another reason why I picked this topic, because I knew I'd have an excuse to visit the Eisenhower Library. And that's where the telegrams, so these two telegrams are the ones that I used in my performance, and they were real telegrams sent on June 19th that the Eisenhower received. He probably never actually saw them, but his office received. And there was a lot of telegrams and letters from the public, letters between White House staff talking about what the public thinks, like reports. It was very helpful in sort of hearing what people were saying to the president and what people in the White House were saying about the public. And so it was a lot of fun. I have a lot of pictures of things that I took.
It makes me so happy to hear research is fun.
That's great.
It's great. Well, you did an excellent job.
Thank you.
It's impressive.
One last question. How did you come to the idea to present both sides, research from both sides during your presentation?
So I didn't realize how similar they were when I began. I wanted to learn about both sides because last year I was Truman and Truman alone, and it was really hard to pull in different sides. And I thought, I'm actually good at this, so I'm gonna do all about the multiple perspectives. And I didn't want to only show one side because I feel like that wouldn't be a bias, or that wouldn't be a balanced presentation of it. And I wanted to show what was the public's attitude towards him as a president, and how did they view his responsibility. And so as I researched, I realized that what they thought wasn't as different as it seems. What they thought was actually similar, and that he needs to protect our rights by how he uses his pardon power. They just had very different ideas of whose rights were the issue, who was actually guilty, etc. And so, but the public, everybody seems to have this underlying idea of his pardon power gives him a responsibility to protect our rights. And so I chose to do the both scenes, and I made them mirrored intentionally and made like them say the same things, just like different, because I wanted to show how similar they were and how similar points they were making to each other.